Okay, so this is what I have. Now, these are the values I have here. So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 names here. If you notice, if I refresh, you can see I still have 5 names. If I add a new name, so this time let me add one, and I click on add, you can see I have this. If I refresh, you can see it is still there. So meaning that my data is now coming from where? From that local storage. And you know, like before, when you refresh, what happens? It goes off and you start. So this time it is coming from the what? From the local storage. And if I also do a search, so you can see everything is working as expected. You can see that. So this is purely JavaScript. So how did we do that? If you notice, we were looking at some of the JavaScript code. So I don't really know where it's, because when you guys left, I had to, you know, try out some things. Now, okay, so we added a method called add to student DB. This method will always be called each time we want to add to the local storage. I don't know, I think we've created this method, Abby. Add to student DB. So you notice this is where we did that if statement to find out whether the local storage is existing. If it is existing, we go in, get it, and transform it to what? To JSON. Then we use the push to do what? To add. You can see the name is coming from here. So anything we type, push means what? Add to that array. Then after doing that, we move and put it back to that what? To the local what? Sorry, because remember we have what? Set item here. So set item means get me the storage, then this is the data we want to pass into. So we are now changing it back to what? To JSON. So that's what add to student DB is simply doing. You can see that. Now, when we call this method is going to add. Now, to get student list, this method will be the one to do what? To get me all the students, all the names from that local storage. So to do that, you can see I'm using what? The for each loop. So the for each loop, what is going to do? Get me the for each item in this student DB. So what is student DB holding? Student DB is holding all the what? Names. All the names. You remember it's an array. What are stored inside there? They are what? String names. So get it. You can see I'm now calling the what? Get list. So what is get list doing? Get list is a method. If I scroll, is it down or up? Okay. You can see that get list is a method that does what? That helps me create all the UI. That is our elements. That's what it does. So while it is creating, we use the name and we'll pass it as what? As a create what node. You can see this is what this guy is doing. So anytime we call get list is the one that does what? That actually, you know, creates all the elements for us. So this is where we create all the elements, and whatever value we pass in from the UI, we are creating it as what? As a text node. Okay, so it creates this, and that's the reason why we are creating for each element. So get student now as a function. Look at this. It's actually called, let me show you. You know, there's this method that we created. Where is it? Where is it? Look at this method here. Add event listener. You remember we talked about DOM content loaded. You remember this guy? This guy is the one that, for the first time, anytime we launch the browser, we want an event to what? To execute. So the name of the event is called DOM content loader. So meaning that this is going to call the get student list. So the get student list, what's it going to do? You will be the one to create all those UI, those airline. Because get student list, if I scroll down and see that here, is the one that does what? That creates all the UI for me. So use the for each loop and it calls that. So that is what I added. So the thing I want you now to do is this. Where did we stop? I think we stopped at add student DB. So let me confirm this. We created a method called get student, sorry, add to student DB. Please confirm if you have this. We have. Okay. So now, after doing that, do we have a method called get student list? Do you have a function called get student list? Confirm if the contents we have student db.for each. That's where we stop. So there's nothing inside here. No. Okay, so fine.
No, we have an add to list.
Add to list. Okay, item name add to list. Okay. Okay, not guess. Okay. Now, comments add to list. So comment it, because I think this is the one you were calling. Yes, comment it. Comment this line.
Okay. So you add get list.
Yeah, so what you need to do, not really add, not to type, just comment this line first. That is add to list. Comment your own. Now, I want us to create another function called get list. So let's go back and create this function called what? Get list. Are you there? Just create the function get list. Put in the. Don't worry, I'm closing it, so I'll tell you what to do. Just first of all, create a function called what? Get list. Give it a name. Just put a name, then it should be empty. Are we there? So the function should be empty by now. Are we there? Okay. Maybe I would have. Okay, just on you. Instead of us saying get list, let's call create list. Name it create list. So I think this method should make sense to us. What is this function going to do? We'll call it. It will be the one to create those lists that we did initially. Now, go to your add to list. Are you there?
Yeah.
Go to add to list. Copy all this line from here. Yes, all those things inside add to list. Copy everything. Are we there? Now, go to your create list and paste. Are you there?
Yes.
So make sure you have this. So what this guy is going to do is to simply create that list for us. So he's going to be the one to create those lists. Do we have this now?
It's not the same thing as the one we did before.
the add to list. Yes, now it's the same thing, but it's just that. But it's just that add to list. Don't worry, I'll display other things there again. But yes, it's the same thing. That's why I said copy and paste. Okay, now since it is called create list, I want you now to come here, go back to your get student lists, scroll down, then put in your for each loop. Inside your for each loop, call the what? Create list. Yes, just uncomment it and write create list. Okay, so imagine get student list. This is a function that should help me return the list for us. So, but before it does that, it's going to know where it's going to get it from. That's why we are adding that if statement that goes to the local storage. It sees it, then you know what is inside student DB. It is names. I hope you are getting this. What is inside the student DB is what? Names. So all those things we type in from those from the UI, all those names, they are inside what? Student DB. So we are simply iterating for each name in that student DB. That's what we are saying. Get me the name. Then I'll be calling another function that knows how to create a list for me. Hope you are getting this. I'll be calling another function that knows how to create that list. Then for each list I'm creating, I'll take the name and attach it there. That was the reason why I created this method called create list with this value. So if you notice, create list, if you go up, you can see it. This is where I'm passing that for each name. So if you look at name, you can see this is where I'm putting it here. You can see that instead of me hard coding. I hope you are getting. So if I type in Jude, the Jude value go in here. this code will create those li for me and the rest. So what the for each is doing, that for each name creates the li. For each name creates the li with the names. So that was the reason why I am calling. So instead of me just pouring those create elements, putting them here, that's why I had to create it as a function, so I can just reuse it. So that's what I did here. Okay. Now, this means that for any time I call get student will always, display something for me. So get student as a function, I want get student to be called when the browser has finished what? Loading. So meaning that if I refresh the browser, I want it to call this method called get student. So what is get student going to do? Behind the scene, it goes to the database, call this create list, generates it, pull in the names and display it for us. So that was the reason why. So let's scroll up and add this function. Yes, you don't have it, so you type it now. So this function, document add event list now, DOM content loader, is actually an event that will be fired when you launch the what? The browser, that is the web page for the first, not really for the first time, each time you launch the web page on the browser. It is different from it is different from unload, because unload means that the document, the web page will finish loading, meaning that if there's any script, it's going to finish loading before it starts firing. This one is not doing that. This one is saying for the first time you load the web page on the screen, that event will fire. So when it fires, I am calling what? Get student as a function. So that get student now will call behind the scene, call create list, then it displays it on the screen. Okay. So make sure if you are typing that it is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. Document content loaded. So DOM is in caps. C is also in caps. L is in what? In caps. So yes. Document dot what? Document dot add event list now. Ah, that's the first thing we.
No, instead of, we usually say text with add event list. That's getting it on our HTML.
Repeat again. Sorry.
Like usually we say like this text with add event list.
Yes, meaning that
We declare it already.
on the text field. Thank you. But this one now, we are declaring it on the document, which means on the web page. Yes. Okay, that's what you mean. Okay, fine. Yeah. because that's where we want to fire. So the document meaning once you load for the first time, not really for the first time, each time you load, just fire that function, which is called getStudentList. So getStudentList now will display all of that and display it on the screen. Okay, now if you go back to submit, if you go back to submit button, this one here, if you go back to submit button and you scroll down, you will notice that I have a method called what? Add to what? List. Abi? Confirm that. You remember that's what is adding it to the what? To the list. Now, if you go back, let's go to the add list method. Let's go there. Scroll down. What do you notice here? This is where I am calling add to what? Student. Yes. You remember when we started this, this method is not there because we are not doing what? We are not adding that content to the what? To the database. Remember this method was not here. So add to student now is, you know, when you type in from that text field, it is this method now that will take in the data. Are you there? So, what do you notice here again? If you notice this, you notice there is a repetition. I already have a method that is doing that. All I just need to do is then I'll say what? Do you understand? You don't. Let me repeat again. Let me repeat again. Just to make sure it's working. I'm commenting this. Ctrl Z. Forget about create list now. This is what we have, right? Now, add to list. Initially, what was it doing? It was just helping us create the LI. You understand? It will refresh. It will just clean up and give us the default back. Now, we now said that we want to start taking those values that we enter and writing it to the local storage. Do you understand? Now, how did we do that? The first thing we did was we created a method called what? Add to studentDB. You can see this guy, push. Remember the push function in array, thank you, that is used in injecting or append to the end of an array. So that's what this add to studentDB. So when it does that, you can see it calls the local storage and sets, write it back to the database. Do you understand this? Now, it also means again that because we are now writing to the database, calling the add to list, we need to call that method. Because what are we adding? The thing that the name that the end user has what? Written. So that name will come from here. You can say that. Do you understand? So if you go to submit, where did we? You can see where we use it. Where is the data coming from? From the text field value. Hope you understand this. Remember, we are calling add to list is saying I have a parameter that you need to pass in data. So where is this data coming from? From the text field. Hope you understand this part. Text field dot what? Value. So whatever value that I've written on this what? On this text field. So take that data, pass it into the what? Add to list. So add to list will take that data, in this case, let's say Kate. It will call add to list. Add to list will create all this LI, create the text node, then pass Kate here. Do you understand? Then it calls other things, create them, and do all of that. So the name that we enter, Kate, we want to save it to the database, which is that DB, that list. That was the reason of what? Add to DB. So Kate has been written here. So when the compiler gets to this place, what will happen? It's going to look for add to DB. You remember Kate is here, right? So it checks. Is it there? Is he? Sorry, this is saying, is it not there? Definitely it is there. So this will be false. Then else block will what? Will execute. So what is else block doing? Is simply getting that local storage and passing it to this variable, right? So I'll now call the variable dot push Kate. Then after that, I'll call it and set it back to the database, which is what we are doing here. So set student. Yes, we are now putting it back to the database. So that is what add to DB is doing. Do you retrieve? Retrieve is to get means retrieve. That's why if you notice for add to DB, we are only doing what set, which is the last thing we are doing. Because what else was initially doing is to find out whether it is existing or not. If it is existing, get it. But if it's not, sorry, if it's existing, create it, meaning that we are assigning an empty array here. But if it is existing, then get it, then pass it to this variable. So this now becomes what? The array. Then push Kate as a value. Then after that, take that array, put it back to the local storage. So that's what we are doing. So that's what add DB is. Now, so which means that the function of submit has been what? Completed. That is, everything here has been completed. Now, if you look at add to list, when we say add to list, what is add to list doing? It is calling this guy because when we get to the value, we'll call or display it, pass the name and this. But do you know that instead of us doing this, we have already created a method that is doing that for us already. What is that method? Create. That's it here now. I don't know if you understand. If you look at this and you look at this, it is what? Repetition. So instead of you doing repetition, simply call or reuse that function. And I'm done. I don't know if you understand what I've just done here. Because there's no need for the add to list to repeat this the same thing that is happening here again. Instead, just call the function, meaning reuse it. So the truth is there's no need for this guy to be here. Sorry. So that's it. So add to list. Add to list will say, okay, what do you want me to do? I have a function already that knows how to create this list for me. I'm calling it instead of me repeating that line of code again. So I now call create. So create list will do what? Create those li, those FA icons and the rest. Then after I finish creating, I'll call another function called what? Add to DB. That will take that name after generating the list or creating it rather. Then it takes that name and what? Writes it to the database. So confirm and see to make sure this is working as expected. Okay, so let's see if it is working. So, initially, when you add in a name, and you refresh, what will happen? It cleans it up. But right now, it is when you refresh, it is going to the database, you pull the record, and display it. Click on delete. Click on the delete icon. When you click it, when you delete, it goes off. But when you refresh it, what happens? It comes back. So why is it so? Thank you, because it's not deleting from the database. I believe this is clear now. So it means that our delete now should go to the local storage and delete it. So when we refresh, the refresh is okay. I'm still getting from the storage. So this is the idea of database. If you are doing back end, because most of the times application will always draw data from the source. So if your application draws data from the source, it means that source can be manipulated, meaning you can do some crawl operations on that source. That's the idea I'm just trying to push into this place. But in real life application, you will never want to use local storage, please. If you are building any application, you simply just want to use some applications that are actually designed to hold data. So let's see how we can do delete, and this will be the last concept so far. So meaning that we want to see how we can do delete. So our filter is working, our insert is working. Okay, it's not working. Please, let's confirm this. Objects. Okay. So, is that the only thing is adding? Is it only that part? Do you have others down? Items. Is still having that object? That one. That error should be. Add another student again. Just add another student. It's not adding the object. It's adding the student, the name of the student. So I think it will be a formal. Okay, let's do this quickly. Let's do this. Let's do this. If I go to if I come here, inspect, go to application, are you seeing we have what? Local storage and what? Session storage. So, come in here, go to local storage, and click here. You can see my local storage. Student DB, you can see all the values that I've been entering. Now, if I come here and I clear all, I'll do that now. So this is like going inside the database. Clear all. Are we there? Now, if I go to my application and I refresh, nothing. Why? You should know why now. Yes, you've wiped out all the data. So you can see. Now, So this is what you do. Clear it. You shouldn't be having any data now. So it has gone. So let's add new data now. So come here. I'll come here and say Jude, hit enter. So this is my new data. So if I refresh this, I only have one name there. Like that. So if I refresh, I can see two data. If I go back to that local storage, you can see two data. So that's it. So we now want to do it in a way that no need, because the truth is, because I went behind our browser, but we should have done it so that if we click on that delete, we should go in and delete it from there. So you shouldn't be seeing that object again. I think that was because maybe there was an error initially. Ayo, sorry. Ayo, Larry, sorry. Is it working now? If it's added, it should be seeing it here. Because you don't really pick up your soul. With no, we deleted it off. You don't really get it. See, next time if you get a also need to gather some points. So what you do, you move this down, go to your HTML, delete that. without the data. Go to your add to list. Remember add to list. See.
I think there's an additional key. Once you refresh, it's coming back.
Yeah. Yes. No. There's no. Yes, there's name. Yes. Yes, but your refreshing is waiting for that. It will delete, but it's not deleting from. It's just deleting from the UI. Because we don't touch the code. We should delete. But it's just that it's not deleting from the database, it's just deleting from the UI. You're not supposed to also you know when it goes. This delete for the UI, yes. It is not deleting from the database yet. So we need to work on that. Papa, I don't know. Yes, inside the app. No. Only your own I need not the call. Yes. It's not deleting. It's not deleting. No, you can call on the side of let me show you this. That was the reason why it's not refreshing. So you can see add to, where is my add to list again? That's it. So call that add to student. Okay, so the only thing the only thing we need to do is to delete now, because if you notice when you delete, it's only deleting from the UI. You understand? It's only deleting from the UI. So that's the reason why when you refresh, the refresh is getting the data from the what? From the database. That's why you are seeing it again. So we need to do it in a way that if we click on that delete, it should, yes, go to the UI, delete it. Sorry, to UI. Go to the database and delete it. Not from the UI now. So let's create a function that will be doing that. But for now, if you look at this, so if you look at what we have here, you can see this is what is doing all of the delete. So we need to write some codes here that will be doing that. So before we do this, let's create a function. So just like the way we have add to student DB, let's create a function. Sorry. Let's create a function. Just like we will have function add to student DB, we will say function remove from student DB. I think that should be fine. So we say function. So I'll call this remove from student DB. They'll pass in name. Then we'll need to do some repetition of codes here. So just copy these two lines, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So you already know what this is saying. This is simply saying if it is not there, create it. If it is there, get it out for us. Okay, so once it's there, we'll come here and say for each loop. So we have the student DB now. Dot, what are we going to do here? We need to loop through the student DB. So we'll come here and say for each. Then put in a function, callback function. Then we'll come here and put in the value, comma, and what? Index. So come here and say if name dot text content is equal to what? Value. We'll now say value dot student DB dot splice. Okay, we'll be testing something here. I want to see, get more example or details about this splice, because it's part of the function of an array. Just like we will have push, pop, yes, just like we have push, pop, on shift, length. Splice is one of them. It's just that I think in our example we did not use splice, so I want to quickly get a detail about what splice will actually do. So I'm going online. Please, this is how you learn. So because it's not everything I want to start knowing, so I'll go to Google and I'll type in. So if you are actually doing your own thing and you notice that you're actually confused on some certain things, it is always a good practice to always go online and search for it so that you understand it better. That's how I learn. I don't want to, even though I tend to know it, but if I want to know it more, I'll simply go online. If I go online and I see, at least I'll make sure I check for 3 examples. 2 might be videos, so that they will tend to explain this better for you. So if I go to array splice in JavaScript, or I'll just simply say JS. If I come in here, most of the time I like going to W3 School. Let's try what W3 School is saying. So the splice method adds an or removes array elements. The splice method overrides the original array, and array.splice. Okay, let's see what this is saying. So is please, if you have internet, quickly do this so that my internet here is slow, that's why. Okay, so this is an example from W3 School. So giving an example, so this is an array. Okay, so very clear now. I needed to see so I could explain it better, even though I tried to know what it's saying, but I wanted to understand how to explain it to you guys. Now we know that array, you can add data to an array from the back or front. So give me that array. So what slice is simply saying that we can use it to add and remove. Now if you look at 2, 0. Now in the first one, what it's saying is at position 2, which is 0, 1, 2, which is apple, add 2 elements, lemon and at position 2, add 2 elements. So where is position 2? 0, 1, 2, which is apple. So it is adding lemon and kiwi in front of apple.
I mean, position 2 is orange.
No. From this 0, 1, 2. At position 2, which is this apple, add 2 elements, which is lemon and kiwi. That was the reason why I added lemon and kiwi. I don't know if you get this. That's what I'm trying to look at now. But if you, because this one is saying to remove this. So I think this is an overloaded version. I think this is one we used. Let me show you. Which one? Mm-hmm. Okay, let me. Okay. Let me try this. I'm putting one here. Lemon kiwi. Oh, I see. Do you understand this now? Let me run the code again. Now, let me explain. What is position 2 here? Apple, right? Now, what this 0 is simply saying is that it is not going to remove apple. I hope this is clear. Forget about these 2 things here. If you simply say 2, 0, it simply means at position 2, any element at position 2, 0 means don't remove it. So, no, this is not going to remove apple. But when you now add these 2 values, we are now saying add lemon and kiwi at where this guy is. If you put 1 here, what will happen? It's going to remove apple and add these 2 values where apple is. Okay, let me do this. At position 0, what does that mean? At banana, it means lemon and kiwi will be in front of banana. Let's try it out. Are you saying that? But if I put 1 here, what will happen? It's going to remove banana. Let's confirm. Abi?
Make another number besides 0. Make another number besides 1.
Like this.
No, like if you change it from 1 to 2 instead of 1.
I should change it to, okay, 1 to 2. Okay, 1 and what? Okay, that's a good one. Let's try this out. 1 to 2. So I want to guess. Okay, before we do that, what's the initial value?
0.
It was 0 and 0, Abi. So we already know 0 and 0 means that it's not going to remove anything. What's this one doing? Abi? Okay. Now, if we now put 1 here, it means that it's going to remove banana, which is position 0. If I put 2, let's try it out. That's what we've not done yet, Abi. So let's find out. Okay. So what did you notice? It removed banana and orange. So what this means is that at a certain position, thank you, starts removing from that position. I think I understand this better now. Do you get this? I should still explain.
Even if you over on this price,
Okay.
if you explain there are some price of
Okay, on our code, Abi.
so empty, make the
Okay, so start number, delete count, number, okay, and undefined returns this. So what we now did was index comma 1. That's what we did, Abi. So we already know what this means. 1 means remove that item from that position. So starting from that position. So if we go back using this, so let me put this guy as 0 initially, or let me use this rather. Let me use this. At position 2, remove 2 items. I hope this is clear. At position 2, this is 0, 1, 2. Remove 2 items. 0, 1, 2. Remove 2 items. Why is Kiwi appearing?
Removing that position.
Okay, from this position and this. Okay, I'm surprised. Yeah. So we are correct. So from position 2, remove 2 items from that position 2. But assuming this is 1, what will happen? It's going to remove just the apple. Thank you. So if I run this code, you can see that. Now, if I type 0, 1, it means it's going to remove what? Banana, yes. If you understand this part, let's look at our code. You remember when we use for each loop? For each loop has you can iterate based on the value or what? Or index. So in this case, who is the value? Your names. Jude. Okay, so if Jude is the first value, what is the index? 0. Hope you understand this. If Casey is the second value, what is the index? 1. Now, this variable here, remember we are getting it from. Let me change this variable name to something meaningful, not name, because we'll be using name a lot. I'll come here and change this variable to list item. I think this will make sense. Then I'll come here and say what? List item. Now, what we'll be passing to this method is an element. When I mean list item, like li. Hope you're getting this. look at this method, remove from student DB, it's going to accept something. What is going to accept? In this case, for now, we really don't know. It could be anything. But what I want to pass into this for each loop is what? The li we are what? Deleting. Remember when you click on that, what's it called? On that trash. You know, there's a way we did it. We went to the li and remove it. So we want that li to be passed into here. Now, if you remember this guy, text content. What is text content? Text content will retrieve the text of that li. So if it is Jude, hope you are getting this. Remember, we have student DB here. Student DB is what? Is holding all the names. I'll just do for 3 values. So imagine we have students. Hope you can see this from here. Is equal to Jude, AC, and ID. Student DB is what? Is an array. I mean, now you know if I come here and say student DB dot what? For each loop, what will happen? It means that the for each loop is going to iterate 1, 2, 3 times. So how do I get the value of Jude and the index position of Jude? For each loop is giving me 2 variables to use for free. You can give it any name. So I gave it what? Value, comma, index. So once, forget about the semicolon, please. If I iterate for the first time, what is value?
Sorry, 1.
If I iterate for the first time, what is value?
Value is value from
It is Jude. Thank you. What is the index?
0.
0. If I iterate again for the second time, what is value? KC. What is index? 1. Hope you know that. If I iterate again, what will be the value? AD. And what is the index? 2. 0, 1, 2. So what's the index? 2. Will the for each iterate again? No, because it has iterated through the collection. By default, it's going to stop. But if I keep on having more data, what will happen? It will keep on iterating. Good. Now, if I tell you to write a code that will stop when it has gotten to KC, how do you do that? Using this for each loop. If I tell you to write a code to when it gets to KC, it should stop looping. What do? Use an if statement. Thank you. So you will now say if the value is equal to what? KC. I mean, that's what you do now. Then you now what? Break it. Thank you. Because you know that the value will always hold either any of these words. So the value will either hold Jude, KC, or AD. So we are simply saying that we want to stop the for each. That when it gets to KC, we should do what? Stop. So you know what we'll be doing? We simply say value when is equal to KC, then we simply do what? Break. You understand? Yes.
If you don't know those values, then let's say
I understand. There's a reason why I'm using this example, so that we tend to know what we are actually doing here. So it means that we know what the value and index is. So if I ask you now, what is the value here? You will tell me it is the value that is in that what? Array, which is in that collection. Hope you are getting this. So the value could be Jude, KC, depending on what is inside that database. Then the index based on their position. 0, 1, 2.
Like he asked now, like what if we didn't do the value? But if can we use the index instead of the value?
Yes, yes.
Once the index
Is 1 or 2. Thank you. We can now do that. Yes, we can do all of that. But there's a reason why I'm bringing this thing here so that you understand what we're doing. Now, you will notice that you are using the value, just like he asked. The truth is, what if I don't know this value? But I already know that there are some values already in the word, in the student team. But take note, the value somebody will want to type in is coming from somewhere. So look at this. I have Li here that has KC. And it has what? A trash can. Just imagine this, please. Hope you get this. I have another Li that is Jude. I have the trash can and it's what? Li. We already know that if we click on this trash can, what's it going to do? It will look for this Li and delete it. Now, we want in a way that when we click on this trash can, I want to get hold of the Li that will be what? That will be deleted. Now, when I get hold of the Li, there is a function or property that we can use to get the contents of Li before deleting. So, once we get the content, how do we do that? We'll say Li, and imagine if it's Li, dot what? Text contents. This is going to return Jude for us, if this is what we want to delete. Then, we will take this text contents. Now, instead of me hard coding KC now, you can see, I will now say what? Li dot what? Text contents. So, meaning that if somebody deletes, click on that delete, I want to check whether the value in that database is the same value as this one. Do you get this now? If it is so, then instead of me, you now use the example called break here. So we won't be using break, rather we'll use what? Splice. So we already know how splice is working. Go to this database, look for the index. Definitely we know the index of what? Of this value. We are getting it from here. So if it is Jude, let's say Jude is in what? Index 1. So here becomes what? 1. And it is Jude. Oh, I don't know. That's just the way to explain what I'm trying to do here. Instead of us hard coding KC initially, like he said, we really don't know the values here. So all we just need to do is we simply get the value from the front end, which is the UI. Then we'll now take the value and compare it from the one coming from where? From the student.db. Using the value, we can now see this item, which is the Li, is it the same thing as this value? So if this Li is Jude, and this is Jude, which is true, gets me the position of Jude and splice it. Meaning, you remember we are doing it from here. So go to the collection and remove it. So Jude will be removed. So how do we do this? We'll now call this DB and submit it back to the what? To the database. So that it will be what? Updated. So when we now click on refresh will go to save that database and refresh and pull it and refresh. So if Jude is not there, then it's not going to display Jude. So let's try it out. So we'll come here. So after deleting, we'll write it back to the local storage. Sorry, I'm still inside the if statement. It shouldn't be there. So go outside from the for loop and call the local storage dot what? Set item. Just copy this. Okay, so I'm done. So save and like that. example, when we're doing push, what is push doing? It was adding. You would have been tempted to use what? To delete. You have been tempted to do what? Pop, thank you. But what is pop doing? Pop will remove from the last, thank you. I hope you are getting this. So, because we really don't know which one the end user will delete from, you want to go for the front and delete, or the tail, or the middle. You understand? But assuming this is a queue, for instance, then we know that it will pop from the tail. Push is the end, pop is removed. So, but because we will not be using pop, we'll be using what? Slice. So let's save this. Okay, sorry. Before we save, we need to write more codes. So we need to call the remove student from what? From DB. I hope you guys are through with this function. Are we there? Are we there? Okay. Now, scroll up. So we need to call this function now inside our delete. When we click on that delete, we need to call this function so that when we call this function, we'll pass in that li that we are what? Deleting. So that li now will go into this function. This function will use that li to get hold of the content of that li, check it against the value in the database, then use the position of that value in the database to delete it. So go in here. So where is that? Delete. Okay, so that's it here. So just come to your if. After the if, then you simply add. Sorry, not after the if. We are actually asking them if they want to delete or not. So we'll come here and say they will call the local storage. Sorry, remove from what? From DB. Okay, then inside here we'll pass in e.target.parent elements dot what? Parent elements. Then we are done. Okay, that's all. So we are passing in that li that we are deleting. So the li will now use the text content to pull the text and compare it with the one in the database. Are they the same? Then if it's there, delete it. Save. Then let's try it out and see if it's going to work. So right now I only have 2 items. So, but if I delete GDay from here, refresh, and like that. So we are done with this application. When you delete now, you need to refresh to see if it's going to come back. Hello, Shelley. Hope you've written this code though, because this is what is doing the magic. Local storage, you need to put it back now. Did you add this? Yes, it's like the function after the for loop now. Just directly after the for loop. Type in there. Do you know why it is important for you to know JavaScript? The reason is because when you start doing React now, you only focus on React framework. Because React assume now you know what? JavaScript. So you just need to understand how React is doing its own thing. What makes it what? A framework. But your normal coding in JavaScript is still there. React also has its own DOM, different from JavaScript. Yes, is it working now? Okay, go to your side. Go to just type React. Yeah. No, React. Just take you to, I think we'll see that result. What we are seeing in particular one is they have each of it. So actually sorry, documentation. Just go online. That is documentation. There's a very important JS documentation. Are you seeing this? So you can either use this or you can either use this, any one of your choice. Or you use javascript.info. No, this for this. Are you saying that? To use the dev.docs.io.javascript. So this is the reference. So if I'm looking for documents objects, or should I type object? It's not coming up. Objects. I've not actually used some of this documentation because I know it has a lot of JavaScript global objects. Let me see this. Standard built-in objects. Hope this is working now. Voila. Are we there? Is it working now? Ah. If it's not working, when you click on delete, go to your console and check. Show you what?
It's not looking.
You know we use student TV. Let me see.
The thing is, if you delete from under, it's okay, but to start from top to come back.
Wait till make I check. Okay, wait till KC.
No delete me.
So let me delete KC. What are you guys saying now?
Try to.
And I know it's in our type. Oh.
It's deleting from anywhere. If you delete from one that is because you delete from any other place to come back. Function, this, that, from the class. It's just a very good business. As long as you are
You don't understand. You don't understand why. Leave June be refresh because you don't have to go through the June. Yes, it should be empty.
That doesn't complete this statement. Everything has already.
Yes, it has to be empty now. That's why it's because you are no more, reading from the UI again. You are getting everything from the database. Yes, the UL because we have a code now that is creating it for us.
Are we deleting the entire UL or just
The airline.
The airline or the airline inside the UL. Yes, because we are not reading data from there again. We are reading it from the database. Because in real life, if you are building an application, your data is not coming from the UI. It is coming from a source. So it is that source now that you use to populate the UI. I don't know if you understand. Just like, for instance, now I tell you to create 100 records of, while creating a table, create 100 records. It will be difficult for you as a designer. You start creating TR 100 times. No. But if you know how to code, you can get this data from where? From a data source. Then tell the data source, depending on how many records you have, populates the UI. And that's it. Yes, I think that's the issue. That's the same thing I'm saying. You go to your UI, delete your UI, all the airline from your UI. That's the same thing. Delete all this airline. Don't need it again. Because you are no more getting, you are no more hard coding the data. You are getting the data from the what's it called? Database. Refresh now. And you don't have any record in your database. It should be there now. Okay, it's there. Just for that here is how should we explain? Let's get hold of the what's the name of the function? UList dot. Would you have something like UList dot add event listener? Okay. No Muslim for here.
Solomon. So now don't bring it for us. Solomon. You don't hear the name Solomon. Solomon, I'm missing. Right. Try this now. We don't need water. So we know the show.
I got it.
Or just go for the back.
No, this one I'm going for. The one we can be one person of us. That's what it is. Okay, I know I gave an assignment. I give assignments now. Converter now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one.
You don't think I don't do
Pressure zone.
So let's see the assignments. So next class we'll be looking at objects and classes. Classes, objects in JavaScript. So let me see the assignment. The currency converter. So by next class we're looking at objects and classes. How we can write object-oriented, JavaScript.
Can you come and see whether is it Naira or what?
And I use it makes sense. I didn't know you don't put dollar.
Is inside okay, like the place
I know that yes, I'm all right now. This text we have. I know that text
what I wanted to
you get it on the value of output.
when you create something design,
And then now you put in that, when we did that key up now.
key press.
The way we do when we are typing now, as we are typing is searching. So as we are typing,
When you're looking at after you get your you include the input. This
use text. See, I think it's key. Is it key press or no inputs? Because I know in our application, if I type Solomon, and if I clean, you can see that. So use input. So
text event input, locate that object and call the value and empty it. That's what you do.